Welcome to live stream number 38. Live stream number 38, número 38. I'm gonna keep doing that in Spanish because I want to. Real quickly, let me go ahead and pull this up. Make sure that we are in fact live, and we are. Very, very cool. Ooh, gotta turn that volume down. I do have my live stream up here, and we are accepting questions and comments in the YouTube live stream, so feel free to post them up. Okay, first up, and yet again, I have realized that I want to do a different topic first, which I didn't even put in the doc. I swear, I even spent some extra time today trying to prep my order and double check it. But it's kind of funny, like, you really don't know until you're live. You don't really, it's hard to put yourself in that mindset of like what exactly you want to talk about and what order and stuff like that. So I'm going to call an audible here real quick, and I'm going to just pull up this tweet. Come on, Twitter. You're killing me. You're killing me, schmoles. Here we go. That's what I wanted to pull up. Let me just real quick give a quick recap shout out to actually, I think I'm going to have to add this into my, let me just see if I can do this on the fly here in my Airtable. Stream with TJ. Then that's going to pull into my view here, today's stream. Boom. And then let me just change this to 0. Is that going to work? Oh, that didn't work. That had the opposite effect. All right, so you're getting a little, you're seeing a little more than you bargained for here as far as the, let me do 1. You're seeing how the sausage is made here. All right, so I want to, okay, let me change this one to 2. There we go. I fixed the order. Okay, so here we go. I wanted to give a quick recap of yesterday's stream with TJ Gamble on the E-commerceaholic YouTube channel. It was a lot of fun. We talked Microsoft. Will Microsoft acquire Adobe? We talked some Magento Live Europe stuff. It was a blast. This particular screenshot shows TJ's arm cut off because of his very fancy setup with his green screen and all the stuff he's doing. He's really come a long way with his channel, and it's cool to see. He's doing a killer job, and we had a fun time. So if you have not seen that yet, you are going to want to check that out. We streamed on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. So it was all over town, and it was a lot of fun. So make sure to check that out. Okay, next up in the program, Grammarly Tone Detector. Okay, so move my leg stool here a little bit. Okay, so my buddy Mark, I never know whether to say Mark Lewis or Mark William Lewis, because it says Mark William Lewis, but I always think of him as Mark Lewis. So my buddy Mark tweeted about Grammarly. Now, I have been looking at Grammarly recently. Well, I've been hearing more and more about Grammarly, so I was like, I got to check this. I remember playing with Grammarly, gosh, it must have been 7-8 years ago. And the product has gotten a lot better, has continued to evolve. And what stuck out to me about this was this tone detector, which I was like, that is really cool, because I definitely can be guilty of firing off an email without thinking too much about it, and firing off an email, and maybe it's not in the friendliest tone. I try to keep a friendly tone, but so this seems like a really good piece of functionality. So I wanted to check that out. I installed it. I started playing with it, and it was crazy. It was so cool. It actually, I was writing an email to somebody, and I wasn't at all. I had completely forgotten about Grammarly and all this kind of stuff. I was just trying to get work done. I was doing my billing. I was doing my bookkeeping for the month, and I was just sending a real quick email. And then I saw an icon, and it had like this face. I think it was it had a face. I think it said neutral. It was a little emoji, caught my attention. And I was like, oh, that's totally true. My tone is not very nice in this. So all I did is I added a couple things. I started off with, hey, hey, exclamation point. And I changed, can you do this, to, would you mind doing this? I just, softened it up a little bit. And then it gave me the thumbs up that it was more of a friendly, it changed the emoji that it was a friendlier thing. And that was so cool. That was absolutely magical. I would pay for that. And they have a free tier and a paid tier. Really like their pricing. Here's the problem. I started using it, started installing it, and then all of a sudden it's correcting all my typos and my grammar. And I actually, so this is the next sort of subtopic here that me and Mark are chatting about on Twitter. Okay, so here's what I said in the tweet. Loving the tone detection. I'm realizing that I don't want the spell checker. 99% of the time, I actually don't care, and I find fixing the typo a waste of time. The tone detection is really the only thing I want. So like, for example, I would be writing something, and it would say, well, you need to have a comma here to have proper grammar. Or I would write, AirPods in all lowercase, and it would flag it because it probably wants me to capitalize AirPods. And so for the type of writing that I do, which I guess is mostly social media these days, but also emails, I actually think that's a waste of time to correct those things. Now, of course, there's a context where those things are not a waste of time. And so if you're writing, an official article, something like that, for some people, if you're communicating with clients, you want to cross your T's and dot your I's. For me, even if I'm communicating with clients, I care a little more about typos in those emails, but still not a ton, to be honest. I think it's worrying, there's different types of typos. There's a typo like where you typo the word though, actually, which is funny because I was replying to Mark and I literally typoed the word though, THOUHG. I don't think anyone cares about that because they know that your fingers just typoed something, right? Now, if you confuse the words there and there, that's not just a fingers thing. That shows that you don't understand the different uses of there. And that does reflect poorly, in my opinion. And what Mark said on this is, depending on what your audience is, it can display a level of carelessness. I know I definitely take note of typos and silently judging, which is totally true, right? That totally happens. People do sort of silently judge, or sometimes not so silently judge. But yeah, there's different types of typos. And I don't think I usually make the typos that show, a fundamental misunderstanding of the actual language, right? Like mixing up there and there. If it's a typo like though, like honestly, to me, it's not a good use of time for Grammarly to highlight that, click on it, fix the typo. Like it's not a good use of time. And if I see 30 to 50 to 70 of those per day, I uninstalled it because it was just driving me crazy. So the only thing I want is the tone detection. I think that's totally magical because, and that's what I said here, is I said, nobody cares if you typo though. However, if you write something in a tone that sounds rude or condescending, or whatever, people care about that. All right, that's actually meaningful. And even when people say that they judge you for typoing, though, I honestly, I judge people who judge people for typoing, though, or some trivial typo, because it's almost the equivalent of judging somebody for not wearing a suit and tie at a conference. Like, if I go to a tech conference and somebody's speaking, you know, there was a time and a place where if you're not wearing a tie, you know, you're going to be judged. You're not going to be respected. You're not dotting your T's and crossing your I's if you're not wearing a suit and tie. But, you know, in the day and age and the context that we're in now, if you're giving a tech talk, what matters is the content of what you're saying. And I don't care if you're wearing a suit. Actually, wearing a suit is sort of a negative indicator. So I think it's kind of equivalent there. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Grammarly, really interesting product. I really, really wish I could just use the tone detector, and I definitely would pay for that. All right, next up, dips. Okay, so this is on the topic of fitness, and I was at the gym yesterday, and the other day I did some dips with a 45-pound weight. So dips are when you, it's going to be hard to see this in the video, but it's when you hold on to some bars and then you lower yourself and raise yourself up. So anyways, I did those the other day. And so the workout program I'm doing is called Strong Lifts. You incrementally increase the amount of weight that so you get a belt and you strap on a belt, and then you strap on some extra weight. And you start with 5 pounds, 10, you go up, and I'm doing 45. So I'm strapping on 45 pounds and doing dips. And the other day I had this memory that the level of difficulty was about the same as, I guess it was 6 months ago, 6 months ago, when I started doing dips with no extra weight, but I weighed probably 25, 30 pounds more. And I was less strong because I've been strength training for 5-6 months, and so it was the same level of difficulty with an extra 45 pounds strapped on as it had been with no extra weight strapped on 5-6 months ago, which is like, wow, this is awesome. Like it was really cool. It felt really good to have that realization, and Strong Lifts is a great program. It's going really well. So that is all I want to say about that. Okay, next up, and I have a new little piece of technology for this one. I wonder how this is showing on my screen. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's showing up nice. So I created I literally just created a little HTML file on my desktop and did some CSS for like when I do a topic and then I need like something on my screen to reference. I just created this. And I'm kind of tempted to turn this into like a little no-code product. Like literally all I want is a product, and I did search for this, that I should do this as a separate topic. All I want is a product that where I can type in a phrase and it displays it like this. That's all I want. Nothing else. So I might even just build that so that I don't have, I'm literally going to manually edit the HTML on the stream just to get the quote on there. Okay. Anyways. So as far as this goes, all right, this is on the topic of content. It feels good to express yourself. You don't always have to have a reason or justification for why you want to talk about something. This is something I've been thinking about as I've been thinking about and talking about, doing content and sort of talking about different topics and, kind of giving yourself permission to talk about whatever you want. And like, one of the things that I find myself always sort of thinking and sort of judging myself is why are you talking about that? You shouldn't talk about that first, and I'll give myself a whole bunch of reasons. Like, you're not an expert on that. Like I just did a little thing about fitness, right? It's like, who am I to talk about fitness? I'm not very fit. I've been doing it for 5 months, but it's like, you're not an expert on that. You shouldn't talk about that. And even if you were an expert, nobody's going to listen to you. You don't have any audience. And even if somebody was going to listen, like, it's not going to change anything. It's not like, it's crazy how judgmental I can be to myself. And I think we're all like that. But I had this realization that like, literally just expressing yourself, there's something satisfying about just expressing yourself. Even if no one hears it, you know, like I'm doing a live stream right now. I've been doing this for 39 days in a row. I've got no comments in the stream. And I'd love to have people in the live stream, right? It's building up, which is fine. I know I'm going to get there eventually. And then I distribute the content in different ways, which gets more visibility because I create more consumable little clips, which is fine, right? But I'm saying I have nobody in the live stream. And you know, maybe nobody will watch this. Maybe this won't even go through post-production, whatever, but just expressing it, there's value just purely in the self-expression. And I find that when I have something I want to talk about and I talk about it, I get it out of my mind into the real world, something happens where I understand it a little better because I've practiced communicating it. And then people do end up seeing, you know, the content, even if it's one person, even if it's 3 people, even if the video gets 9 views. You know, I'll have people say like, oh, I saw X, Y, and Z on your content. And I was like, whoa, like I still don't really feel like anybody's really watching, you know, even though I look at the numbers and certain things do better than others. But when I hear somebody say something, I go, oh, that's awesome. They actually watched it. And so maybe 2 people will see something and get encouraged by it. Maybe 0 people, again, will see it. But there's value just purely in the self-expression. I think that's powerful. All right, next up. I'm definitely going through these more efficiently today, which is cool. So here's where, again, I'm literally doing the inspect on the fly, except I want you to go down. Hopefully this doesn't destroy my, why are you showing me that? Elements. Huh. What I want to see is, that's what I want to see. So there we go. I just changed my quote on the screen. So yeah, so this is the topic here. Oh yeah, and that's the other handy thing about this is I want to zoom in to so that it fits perfectly on the screen. It's really handy. Okay. How to trend on LinkedIn, quantity is quality, and LinkedIn outreach. So I got a question today in my private Facebook group, by the way. I'm starting to really enjoy that. And you can look that up. It's called Content Creator Mastermind. A little bit of a silly name, I know. If you have any suggestions for a better name, let me know. But anyways, got this question in the mastermind in the Facebook group. And they said, hey, I saw one of your posts that had like 50 plus comments and it had like, whatever. And then you have like 15,000 plus, connections and like, how did you do that kind of thing? So I thought it'd be a good thing to address. So a couple things. So I've talked before, I think on my channel, about LinkedIn outreach. So I won't go into too much detail, but do LinkedIn outreach proactively in a non-spammy way. And again, I'm pretty sure I have videos on this. If you don't find them, let me know and I'll dig it up or do it again. But I talk about sort of my whole little technique. Do LinkedIn outreach regularly. You should probably add 50 to 100 contacts a day, every day. It takes time, right? 15,000. It takes that will add up over time, but it does take time, and you can't do more than 100, 150 in a day, or you'll start to get flagged. Do them within a specific niche, which you can do a skill search within LinkedIn. So that'll help you grow your numbers, and then like here's the thing, like even though I have the 15,000. A lot of my content doesn't get that much engagement. So, I have been, I've trended a number of times. I probably in the past month or so, I feel like I probably trended, like LinkedIn gives you notification that you're trending for a certain hashtag. I probably trended like 5 or 6 times for different pieces of topic, different pieces of content, which whenever I see that, I'm like super pumped. So hashtags are important. In the past, I didn't do hashtags. I was like, hashtags are so gimmicky. I don't use them very much on Twitter. But hashtags are really important on LinkedIn because if you don't, like, I trended the other day for development hashtag. If I didn't have, even if I got a lot of engagement on that post, if I didn't have any hashtags on it, you wouldn't trend because you can only trend for a hashtag. And so hashtags are important. I try to put in, 5 to 7 to 10 in there. And by the way, we are spinning up this content production business called Content Accelerator. Website's coming soon, and so you can pay us to do this for you. We have a great writer that does that and picks great hashtags and stuff. But anyways, where I went into pitch mode and I completely forgot where I was going with this. So hashtags. Oh yeah, so quantity is quality. So this is something Gary Vee talks about, and I'm not going to give the whole spiel, but again, a lot of my content does not get, and if you just look at my LinkedIn feed, I have stuff that gets 1 like, 2 likes, 0 likes, we'll get under 100 views. The thing that trended yesterday for the development hashtag, I'm just about going to crack 10,000 views on that, which is a record for me, which is really sweet. But the point is that you have to post consistently because you don't know exactly what's going to work. And that's what this whole quantity is quality spiel is. I think I did a separate video on this, and Gary Vee talks a lot about it. You don't know what's going to work. So even with the 15,000 followers, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get a lot of engagement. So you have to keep as I'm iterating every day, I'm getting a better sense of what works, what doesn't, and what works where. What works on LinkedIn, what works on YouTube, what works on Twitter. What topics does my audience care about? And I'm getting better at understanding that. For example, this particular post, how to trend on LinkedIn, I think is going to do well on LinkedIn. That's sort of a no-brainer. I'll put that in the title. Probably won't do very well at all on Twitter. People will be like, I don't care about LinkedIn. So you start to get better at that. And that's a really important part of the process, is getting better at understanding your audience, what they care about, and things like that. So just keep posting, and then you'll be, oh, wow, that did better than my other 10 things. Why did that do better? And sometimes it's a surprise, but you start to see trends and patterns. So those are basically the bullet points on how to trend on LinkedIn. Okay, next up, shout out to Sanasi. So I just want to give Sanasi a shout out, man. So this is funny. I saw this photo on my Alexa because it's showing me all of these, like, on this day a year ago, November 1st, which was Meet Magenta New York. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's showing me all these cool pictures. Anyways, that was the first time I'd met Ben. I'd known him at the time from Twitter for, like, probably 5-6 years, and known him from Stack Overflow and Twitter, and as a customer of Sanasi at a time. And also Sanasi was, I'm starting to forget I believe they were one of the first sponsors of Mage Talk for just a couple. Yeah. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. But yeah, they were a sponsor of Mage Talk for a while. But anyways, and then Sanasi got acquired. I guess, I don't know when that was, 6 months ago, year and a half ago, something like that. And just like, man, like, Ben does a really great job. Like he, a couple things that are interesting about Sanasi. They don't really go, and I'm not totally up to date on exactly all the product direction in recent months or whatever, but they didn't, like, Ben didn't jump on the cloud train necessarily. A lot of people are doing cloud, a lot of interesting stuff, which is awesome. But one of the things I appreciate about Ben is he's like, hey, our model makes sense for doing dedicated servers, and he just kind of stuck with it, didn't sort of, quote, ride the cloud train or whatever, and just just really does a good job at what he does, and just has a lot of, a lot of craftsmanship and care to everything that he does around hosting and MageStack, their sort of operating system for hosting Magento and stuff, and just a lot of specialization in Magento. And also, he's just a good dude. He's like hilarious. He's a really funny dude. So, anyways, I just want to give a little shout out to Ben. Obviously, well, it's been a while since the acquisition, but obviously, congratulations on that and continued success. And that's pretty much it. This is one of those random topics where I'm like, nah, I'll just say it because it occurred to me and I want to say it. Okay, next up. So this is a little interaction I had with my good man, Aaron Sheehan. And the originating tweet is, so there's a reference to the 10K Magento build, which is a reference to a tweet I posted a while back about a client on Commerce Hero that was looking for a $10,000 build and on Magento 2, and I got a lot of pushback, and I sort of was like fighting people on Twitter, and I was saying, no, I mean, I think it's possible to do a M2 build on 10K, even if it's not likely, but it's within the realm of possibility. We actually touched on this really briefly yesterday on TJ's stream, and TJ actually also said it is possible. You're going to have to use a default theme, and you're not going to get a lot of, you're not going to get much done. It is within the theoretical realm of possibility. What I've since realized, especially as I'm starting to get more comfortable with the Shopify ecosystem and other platforms, BigCommerce and stuff, is that yes, while it is within the realm of theoretical possibility, practically speaking, the answer is no. $10,000 build on Magento, the answer is no. Go to Shopify, go to BigCommerce, go to one of those platforms is the answer. So I sort of reported back. I said, by the way, to my buddy Telesh, I was like, by the way, that 10K client ended up being kind of a dud. The project never went anywhere. And so then Aaron, was like, that's shocking. And, real shocker. And I said, so how do I do a proper mea culpa for this? And Aaron said, segment on Mage Talk and 50 Hail Marys. So I am going to mention this on Mage Talk. I'm mentioning it here on this stream just so that I get it in my head and I remember to say it on the next Mage Talk to give the official mea culpa there. And Aaron was one of the people that I was arguing with in the original tweet. So. All right, last topic. This is a tweet today from Mike Sudik, who has a great podcast called 2 Cent Dad, where he just talks with people about, being a dad. And he's had some tremendous guests on the show. He's had Jason Calacanis. He's had, I want to say, does he have this on his Twitter? Dan Martell, like it's ridiculous the guests that he's had. He's had has he had Heaton Shaw on too? Not entirely sure. He's had Ryan Dice. I mean, unreal. I think he had Rob Walling. Like literally all of my favorite people in the world he's had on his podcast, which is really cool. I want to say he's had Jason Fried. See if I can have an easy way to find this on here. I'm going to just take my time with this because honestly, like the guests that he's getting are just so unreal. It's insane. It's a case study in how to do Nathan Barry. It's a case study in how to do podcast outreach. Because it's a relatively new podcast, and he's just, I mean, how do you get Jason Calacanis on a podcast? And it's an interesting I think the reason why is because it's an interest. Yeah. Yep. Heaton Shaw. Yep. It's a topic that there's a need in the world for more of this content. All of us that are dads, especially if we're in the tech space, all of the content out there is tech, 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 tech. And this is a topic, Ruben Gamez. How do you say that in Spanish? Games. It would need an accent. Yeah, like just awesome dude. Like these are all my like favorite people in the world. Anyways, so yeah, there's a need for. There you go, Jason Fried. I mean, how do you get Jason Fried on a relatively new podcast? It's just unbelievable. Pat Flynn. This is I'm sort of geeking out on just how impressive. For a second, I almost thought he had Obama on the I'm not sure I'd be that surprised if he got Obama on the podcast within the next year. Like the extent at which he's leveling up his podcast guests is just absurd. But anyways, there's a need for this type of content. Because especially in tech, all we talk about is tech, 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 tech. It's like we're all also, those of us that are dads are also dads. And that's a big part of our lives. It's something we think about a lot. And it's something we want to do a better job of. So anyways, back to the specific topic at hand. Mike tweeted, "Hey dads, what are your top 3 things, habits, advice for dads that want to be intentional? Tag a fellow dad in your reply." Oh, I forgot to do that. I forgot to tag. I did reply, but I forgot to tag. So I'm going to just mention mine real quick, and then I'll maybe also look at some of the other replies. I think it's collapsing some of the replies, so I can't see mine. Where's my reply, man? Oh, I'm not going to be able to see it here. Okay, well, my reply was basically be intentional about carving out time. And by the way, for the video editor, if we put this into post-production, take my first clip on how the podcast is really impressive. Make that a separate clip from this clip where I'm going to actually talk about the dad topic. Okay. So my thing is carve out time for no screens where you're just spending time together hanging out, and start small, because like, for example, in our evenings, we've got several hours of time. If I try to really be intentional and focused in that time, factoring in the fact that my kids might be grumpy, my toddler might be crying, there's going to be chaos. I might be exhausted. If I try to really focus for 4 hours, it's just not going to happen. So start with a half hour. Start with 20 minutes. I remember my wife in a previous job did like parenting classes and stuff, and they would say, take 20 minutes a night, which sounds like it's like, that's not enough time. I can do more than that. I can do more, but you'll surprise yourself at how you'll try to do a full hour and you'll find yourself going for that phone and disengaging and not being present. So start with 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then just build it up for there. I'm trying to do an hour. I'm at like an hour, 2 hours. We're like 5 to 7. I've got screens off. I take the phone, I put it somewhere else, because literally if the phone's next to me, there's like a physical twitch sensation to like go for the phone. So have the phone somewhere else, maybe even in another room. And just spend time together, as simple as it sounds. It's increasingly hard for us in this day and age with all the screens and all the things that are intruding on our attention, to do that. And it's hard to build those habits, because if you're like me, you've already got some bad habits around having your screens out when you're spending time together. And, let's say you try to stop that habit, but then your spouse is still doing it, then you're gonna like, hey, put your phone away, and then you might be a jerk about it, and then now you're arguing, right? So it's gonna take time to build those habits and build up consistency around them. And then if your spouse has a screen out, now you're more likely to have the screen out, and then that whole habit just dies. But get the screens away, take a small amount of time, build consistency, and go from there. So that's my tip on that. And I think I will leave it at that for now. There's some great other tweets in here to check out. So definitely go check those out on your own time, on your own dime. And that's all I got for you. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great Saturday, and I'll see you tomorrow.